You're listening to a Roddenberry podcast.
Mission Log Prodigy, a Roddenberry Star Trek podcast. Supplemental. Jennifer Muro.
Welcome to Mission Log Prodigy, a Roddenberry Star Trek podcast. I'm Charlene Schmidt.
And I'm Marina Kravchuk.
Usually on this show, we examine an episode of Star Trek Prodigy and give it the old mission log treatment where we find morals, meanings, and messages, and we find out what we learned. But today, that's not what we're doing because we have a fantastic guest with us.
That's right. We're very excited to have a Prodigy writer with us today, Jennifer Muro. Welcome to the show.
Hi, guys. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. It's good to have you. And this is your very first time on Mission Log Prodigy. So you know what I love to do with our guests? I love to start from the very beginning. We got to know your nerd origin story.
Oh, my gosh.
Yes. Did you grow up a sci-fi fan?
Yes. I mean, I guess that's my nerd origin story. My dad got me the game Dungeon back when I was a kid. It was like the board game version of Dungeons and Dragons. And he was a computer programmer back in like the 70s and 80s. So I also, at his work, I played Zork. The first,
nice.
It was all typing like, the door is ajar. What do you do? It was one of those things.
Yes.
And that was like probably 7, 8, 9, something like that. So it started very early. And he also gave me Carl Sagan's Cosmos.
Wonderful.
Probably like 10. So it was over for me at that point. It was. I was done.
You were set.
I was set. Yeah, that's the earliest.
So in terms of Star Trek, at which point Star Trek entered your life?
Oh, probably 12 or 13, because,
Really?
Yeah, I mean, like, there was a cute boy on the Enterprise on TNG, and we were like similar age, and I'm like, of course, I want to I want to be on the Enterprise too, and I want to do stuff. And so, like, it was a nice entryway to that world. But then again, I mean, I was already loving Star Wars at that point.
Okay, so Star Wars came before Star Trek.
You know what? That's a really good question. I don't know if it was before or after. Doesn't matter though.
It doesn't.
That's true.
Does it? It probably does actually, but I don't know.
I mean, not really. It might have happened like right about at the same time. And
yes, yeah, I think so. And TNG was on a lot. But then again, I always the feature films of the original series is really where my love was. 4, 6.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Because my next question was actually going to be like, well, do you have, as of right now, a favorite Trek series? Because based on what you're saying so far, it kind of sounds like TNG. So it's interesting to hear that it's the movies that seem to be the...
Yeah, I mean, TNG is my favorite, but in terms of the movies, it's, I saw Undiscovered Country probably 5 times in the theater.
Oh, wow.
When it was originally out. And I love 4. Who doesn't love 4? Come on.
That's true.
Oh, yeah.
I recently caught it on TV, and I'm like, I have to stop and watch the one with the whales because you can't.
You
can't
have to.
Yeah. Exactly. And funny enough, I love the first movie. Just, I know it's a lot of shots of people looking, but it's pretty and it's 70s and it's rainbowy and it's fabulous.
Yeah, but you mentioned the trilogy of 2, 3, and 4. There was, I think, the summer I was 10. I spent my summer vacation just watching those on infinite repeat over and over and over. I was a young nerd too, and loved them so much.
Luckily, we have so many ways to watch stuff. It's almost, it is overwhelming. Who am I kidding?
Yes.
So,
yeah, that's very true.
I'm glad I'm not 10 now, is what I'm saying. I guess I wouldn't do anything.
It's true. Yeah.
Just the last question out of the sort of favorite nerd things. Do you have a favorite captain? I think that's like the number one question people get acquainted at conventions. Like, who's your favorite captain?
Oh my God.
That's hard.
I mean, the reason I love Picard so much is because there is he's strong, but there's a commanding presence, but in an elegant way. And I mean, Kirk will kick ass, but I also know if you cross Picard, he will kick ass too, just in a very different way. So I just like his energy. It's firm but comforting.
Yeah, yeah. Well, if that's the one you're growing up with, I think that one does resonate with you just a little more. And
that's true.
TNG.
The great father figure, who doesn't like that when you're like, oh, he's cool, man.
Right. And then there was Wesley. I mean, hey, why not be aboard the Enterprise D? Why not want to date him? Come on.
The whole family was there, man. The whole family was all there. Yeah.
Yes.
That D.
Well, I'd like to ask you about just a personal thing. I went to your website and I saw that before you became a writer, you were immersed in music, and you played in an all-girl band. Please tell us more.
I did. They were very talented. I was far less talented. It was an all-female, very heavy. Not heavy metal, but it was pretty heavy. They were looking for a keyboardist, but I ended up playing bass. Actually, I think you can see my instrument.
There. Yes, sure do.
I love it.
I love my katana, and my guitars are hiding behind me, and my Star Trek. But yeah, so I ended up playing bass, and it was 2001, and it was right during September 11th. So everything shut down city. So I came back in New York. Yeah, and I came back to LA after that, and then I got my first gig at Nickelodeon way moons ago, many moons, and that was development in the development department. So,
gotcha.
Yeah, so the music kind of got left behind in terms of that kind of stuff. But I've been composing since I was little, and I play by ear, and I always loved doing little score pieces and stuff like that. I just can't read music, so I didn't end up pursuing that because it was just a little harder. Also, you should know how to read and do all the things. Although you could these days with MIDI and like all the software.
It's true. Good point. Okay, so that actually helps answer a question I had, which was about the fact that you chose a career as a writer or over being a musician, even though you started music pretty young. So getting that gig at Nickelodeon was sort of what set you on that path?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, actually, my very first job was on the Nick Cannon show. It was a live action show for Nick Cannon, and it got canceled. And then the animation division needed help, and there was a job opening, and I was like, okay, I'll go do that. But the points don't necessarily transfer, and I didn't know that at the time. So yeah. So unfortunately, I kind of would like to have done both, like live action and animation all at once. But it was more like you had it's hard to take that leap because it's a different union, and it was not as respected. Although it is a lot more these days, which I really do appreciate. Because look at all this amazing animation we have, and I think a lot of live action writers and a lot of live action people know what it takes to do animation now, and they respect it, and they're like, this is just the same as what we do. So that's God, that was so long ago. So
now, do you have any plans to take on, you've had so much work in animation, and it sounds like there's a lot more crossover these days. Do you want to go more into live action?
I mean, yes. And that's a whole union thing because, animation writers get 3 times less the money. We don't get residuals. We don't get script fees. We don't get a lot of stuff that WGA does. So just monetarily, I mean, just to survive in this town, it would be good to, be on a live action show for that reason alone, which is such a shame. It shouldn't have to be that way. And we're voting right now on our union stuff, but,
that's right.
Yeah. But, and I was on Marvel Secret Invasion, so I did make the leap back in 2021, actually around the same time as Prodigy. So balancing at the same time.
Very cool. That sounds like a great segue. Let's talk about some Prodigy.
I was about to say, that's perfect. That's why we're here, to talk about Prodigy. So how did it come about? What led you to writing the episodes of Prodigy's second season? I mean, several of them actually, and becoming part of the writer's room in general.
Yeah, no, I would have loved to have been on season 1, and I think the room was closed at the time. I think I had met the Hagemans in the year before, or they were finishing up. I wish my brain would remember this stuff. The point is, I met the brothers. I had a meeting with them. I didn't end up doing that meeting because we were both inadvertently separately at Michael Giacchino's scoring session for, I think it was Spider-Man Homecoming or one of the Spider-Man movies.
Okay.
And they were like, I think I have a meeting with you next week. And then we were like, let's just do the meeting now. So we went into another room and we had the meeting for Star Trek Prodigy. And I don't remember I think it might have been either that year or the year after. The point is season 2 worked out exactly at the right time when I was available and they had, room. So, and I had a dream the year before about a whole Star Trek idea in my head, and I ended up using it a year later. So it all started in early 20. It was it had to be 2020, 2021 in the room. Yeah. It's all over now, isn't it? My God.
Yeah, I seem to remember there was a bit of a buzz on Twitter when you were announced. It was like, oh, guess who's joining and I think it was 2021 thereabouts.
Yeah.
So it was spring. I'm curious now, seeing how you're basically a lifelong fan of Star Trek, do you find that you have a specific approach? You said you had already ideas of what to write. Does it help? Is it okay, great, I have less research to do because I'm aware of the universe?
I mean, for this, I love the technobabble and I love the scienciness of it, and I love time travel stuff. I love parallel universe stuff. I love dimensional shift stuff. And so that was already in my brain, and that's something I like to do. I've written other stuff that has similar themes. So yeah, I had a dream about a ship called the Infinity, and it was a time ship. And it didn't end up being the same exact concept, but it was I actually talked about this dream with our, I think, mutual friend Holly Amos, and I told her back before I was even hired, and I told her the idea. And we were joking about it. So it's
that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, so I'm just wondering, is it ever a hindrance of being a fan? Where it's almost like I know too much,
too close to it.
Only if I drive people nuts, because I'm picky with canon, but so is Aaron, which is great. And we were both good. It's important to just keep continuity. So
yeah.
Am I bore people when we're talking about Heisenberg compensators for 20 minutes?
Look, when you've got encyclopedic knowledge and you're talking with somebody who also has encyclopedic knowledge, like say an Aaron Waldke, that is what you do. That's just going to happen. Yeah. And we were very in the room, just, right in sync with that. And I've joked, everyone's like, okay, can we? And okay, that's great, guys. Can we? To be a fly on the wall. That would have been so much fun. Right? So speaking of our mutual friend, Holly, I heard that you had a hand in bringing Wesley Crusher into season 2. Thanks to her. Would you be willing to share that story?
I actually don't know exactly what happened. What did she say?
Okay, here's her account, is that
a different show. I was pitching a younger preschool show, I think a year earlier. We were talking about that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. What did she say?
She said that maybe it was talking about your infinity concept, and how could you connect all this kind of timey-wimey stuff that happens in season 2 of Prodigy. And she said, well, Wesley Crusher, he's basically a Time Lord. He's a traveler.
That's so
and
funny.
You're like, yes, that's perfect. We're going with that.
Idea. Was it both of our ideas? Is there a parallel universe that's shifting? I thought it was, because I always wanted it, because I'm friends with him. So I always wanted to bring him in. But maybe we did. Well, I love Holly. She's awesome. And I've always bounced stuff. We've always bounced stuff off of each other. So, she has a good memory for that stuff. So maybe she was right, I guess. I don't know. I thought it was the preschool concept I was pitching at the time. They're not doing preschool as far as I know. That would be awesome.
That would be, right?
Yeah. But, well, I'll have to have a conversation with Holly and be like, and she's so good at that. She's a professional organizer, as we know, and an expert.
Best.
So yeah. I feel like her brain's much more organized than mine.
And hopefully I did not get the account wrong. And just in case I did, I'm
you
sorry, Holly.
me and Holly have sort of talked about it. And she mentioned something, and I was like, I don't remember that. But I remember talking about the Infinity. I remember talking about the other project. And I'm friends with Will. And so, I mean, it absolutely felt like
perfect.
And I also loved, well, that's the thing. He was like all the teen magazines on my wall when I was a teenager. Will was Stand by Me and all that. And then of course, TNG. And so
he was a heartthrob.
John Aston and
everywhere.
MacGyver and like all the crazy 80s stuff. So it's just a weird full circle. So I've just always loved, but I also loved the traveler concept. I love the fact that he's like Q-esque without being Q and without the without the total power. So it's and really, I'm just talking about Will now, which is it's not like we wrote him as Doctor Who on purpose. It was more like it's Will now. So basically, Wesley Crusher is how Will is in like real life, and that energy is Will in real life, and so it's so organic. So I just think Will Wheaton has turned into Doctor Who. Not Wesley Crusher does.
I think after a while, don't actors become so much more synonymous with their characters and vice versa that they just become like more friend to one another? And that makes a lot of sense. But travelers are the Time Lords in the Star Trek universe. Same kind of idea, just different name.
Yeah, absolutely. But his energy was perfect for it. And I had rewatched it recently. I was like, my God, he did so good. He's so organic, and I'm so proud of him, and it's fantastic. And I'm so grateful this all came full circle. But yes, nerds all getting together and making stuff happen. And Holly is an honorary Prodigy member. Always. But then again, she's had a hand in all the things. And so is, I mean, all of Roddenberry. I mean, they used to get our scripts and see if we were doing good things or not, which was nice.
Oh, did you ever get notes?
They were actually really good. They were really good. They weren't, we didn't get tons of stuff. I think they just wanted to make sure everything was okay, which is fantastic.
On the up and up. Oh, yeah. I would say Prodigy is probably the most buttoned up of the newer Star Trek series, just in terms of like consistency, continuity. You guys knocked it out of the park. We had so much fun reviewing season 2. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yes.
Our original, when we just got the opportunity to watch it, it was mind blowing. It was like, we just messaged each other, can you believe what the story is getting? Like,
that's so great. Like 219, episode 219 was like, I was rewatching it recently and I was like, oh my God, this is so complicated. What were we thinking? I mean, it all makes sense, but I was surprised we, number one, got away with it. Number two, the executives were like, this isn't too hard. And I don't know, we ended up doing it. And I guess it was clear. I mean, it was clear to you guys, right?
Yeah.
It made enough sense to go with it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. We're not scientists, but we know Dr. Aaron has got your backs.
Right. Yeah. No, she was fantastic for that.
Yeah. Well, how about we talk about some of the episodes that you wrote? Because you wrote 4. And you wrote Ascension Part 1 alongside Aaron McNamara, Deandra Pendleton Thompson, Keith Sweet, and Aaron Walke. That's a lot of names for just one episode. I'd love to know more about the process of collaboration among all of you, because it sounds like a really good, happy, well-orchestrated writer's room. But what is that process of collaboration like when you have that many people contributing to one story?
I think we were very lucky in the Hagemans it's the best, like I've said this in the past, which is been the best writer's room experience I've ever had. And I've had some good ones, but this was just the most family and collaborative and in sync. And we'd all take pieces of stuff. Like that episode, we like all wrote different scenes, and like I grabbed a scene. I think it was like with Iltheron or talking about Iltheron with like Gwyn was on the bridge, I think. And so we all took chunks of stuff, but we also did punch up on all 20 episodes. We'd have punch up days where, if we wrote a draft, then we'd go through everything and like the best joke win or the best version of that line wins, or if we've said something twice too much, it was very, very collaborative in every way, and we all had a part of it, and we all named stuff, and we all like created stuff in this world. So it was pretty incredible.
That is so cool. And you've all got to be on your game and knowing what everybody is up to make all those moving pieces come together and fit into one episode. It's just truly amazing. But every time I do ask a question like that, everybody says it was a great environment. So it's absolutely true.
Yeah, it really was. And I saw some screenshots recently on my laptop. I was like, oh, look, there's St. Patrick's Day. Oh, look at us in our Prodigy zipper jackets. And we were all taking, and I was like, oh, and I found the Christmas one, and I was like, oh God, I miss that. I miss those guys. I miss Star Trek.
Oh, we're still holding out some slim hope for season 3 or some sort of continuation so you can get the band back together and do it all again. It would be wonderful and lovely.
That would be the best. Yeah.
All that we can hope for is that people go on to Netflix and watch it and just tell your friends. Word of mouth. I mean, I don't know. Like, when do they stop looking? Does it grow even more? Do they stop counting? Is what I'm wondering. I don't know when Netflix stops.
From what I understand, the numbers are still like of paramount importance. Forgive that use of phrase, but up through the end of the year in 2024, they're still taking metrics, still seeing how the show is doing. So if you are watching this as the year closes on, keep watching. It matters.
Fantastic. I mean, look, even if it doesn't ever come back, although you never know, in incarnation, Dal might come back somewhere, Gwyn might be somewhere, and you never know.
Yeah,
but also, if God forbid it doesn't, I feel like the 2 seasons really were a closure and a true fate, close that loop. So I'm so happy, if we never have it again, at least it wasn't so hanging on where it was just really nice, encompassing experience. So
yes, thank you so much for not leaving us on a cliffhanger that we may never get the answer to. It's actually straddled so nicely, the closing of the story while leaving another door wide open, just ready to be kicked down and more adventures await.
Fingers crossed. Everyone watch.
So of the episodes that you wrote 4. Does anyone with your name attached stand out to you more than the rest? Like, I know that's not a fair question because that's like asking who your favorite kid is when you're a parent. But is there one? Do you have a favorite?
I mean, I think 209 is probably my favorite because it brought back Wesley, and there's a lot of great emotion in there, and his performance was so fantastic. There were some moments in, I think it was 205. I wrote 205, I think.
Yes. And that's Observer's Paradox, right?
And having Jillian in there. So I'm like, we got Jillian in there. Which I was like, okay, we did the whales. And I don't know if it was ever technically it was in my script. I don't know if it was ever on screen, but the Cetacean Ops lab, I called it the Taylor Lab.
Oh, cool.
I don't know if the plaque was ever shown, but that's what it's supposed to be. So it's supposed to be.
Okay.
We have to now watch for it.
Yes. Go back. Let's rewatch Observer's Paradox. Take really good notes on the details in Cetacean Ops. They might have put it in there, but you know what? I got to be honest. I did not know that until you mentioned it.
Well, it was in my script, but I don't know if it ended up on screen. I have to look again. But anyway, at least in your headcanon now, you know.
Yes, and our listeners, they now know this factoid too. That's super cool. But now I got to see if they did it, and to just boost those numbers even more. How about because I know you do a whole lot more in the writer's room than just write your episodes. You're constantly contributing to everything as a whole. Was there something that you contributed to another episode that doesn't have your name on it that you're particularly proud of?
I think that would probably be 203 or 204. I forget which one it is. I think it might be 204. Whatever episode they go back. They go to get to Chakotay. They go to Solum, future Solum.
Okay.
I think it's
might have been
3.
Yeah, 3. Yeah, I think it was 3. It's what? It's a little bit hard to.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's 203 or 204. There was a lot of timey-wimey stuff in that one. There was a lot of.
That's why it's tough. Yeah.
Yeah. So I definitely helped a lot on that one.
Gotcha.
As an old school writer who's been doing this for many, many years, I kind of helped with that. So that I'm proud of.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have a favorite character to write for? Like, a specific character comes out like, yes, I get to write that scene.
Oh my gosh. I mean, once again, Wesley, of course, and Wesley and Janeway, and I do love writing for the Doctor too. Yeah, I mean Wesley, Janeway, and the Doctor. Those are my favorite. But once in a while, it's fun to have a little rock talk in there. And Dal's also fun. I mean, I'm a New York Italian, so like Dal's got sassiness, and so that's easy. But yeah.
Now, from a point of view of a Star Trek fan, so you obviously had the chance to rewatch the series, or at least watch them once. I don't know how frequently you actually get a chance to see it.
Right.
Do you have, so as a fan, not as a professional writer or somebody who was involved in it, do you have a favorite story arc in the season, or maybe just a deep cut? Like there's a moment, like we mentioned, everybody loves the fact that we have whales and cetacean ops, but some kind of like little thing, like in my case, it's Jabalian omelet. Something that would just like literally hits the spot.
I mean, the story arc, would obviously be Wesley's, obviously. But that's as a fan. That's why, not as the writer. I've been like, yeah, that's what I would have wanted to see. Although I do have to say, I do love seeing Chakotay in this version. I think as a fan, I'd be happy that Prodigy did that for him. And so I think that as well.
So agree. Yeah, that's absolutely.
Same.
With all our love for Voyager, we were in agreement that Prodigy did so much more for Chakotay than all 7 seasons of Voyager.
And I think it would have been nice to associate the Native American part of Chakotay and the Native American ending Wesley had.
Yeah.
I would have.
Oh yes,
that's true.
Tying that together, that was something I played with and wanted to do, because that was the last place we saw him with the Traveler.
That's right. Yeah.
Yes.
So I feel like there was something there that would have been. So anyway, that's a small moment. I would say the Chamuzi was a small little thing. Although I have to say, Aaron Walke had one of the funniest things, and it's not a deep cut, but Borg is short for cyborg. When he's stuck.
Yes.
That wasn't my line, but that's funny as hell. So that's.
I'm thinking back to that scene. I think it might be, is it Arborow's Part 1, where they're doing the rescue operation? I think that's like the last time Wesley and Chakotay really have some time together. That would have been great to have had some sort of connector.
Oh, during
those
Touch
two.
of Grey. Touch of Grey was my episode.
Was that what it did? Okay. You wrote that. Okay. Yeah. The episodes sort of blur when you binge them,
I hear you. Yeah. No, that would have been fantastic. Actually, there was some stuff cut I had noticed. They had a bigger argument in sickbay initially, but I think it was either cut for time or they didn't end up doing, because later on he says, I'm sorry, I was hard on you on sickbay earlier. Because there was an unseen moment there that he was mad about him giving Essentia the technology and was trying to explain like it had to be this way. I think there could have been a moment there that I would have loved to have done. Yeah. While they were hiding and waiting. So,
that would have been amazing. Were there any other moments like that from your scripts that you noticed that did not make it?
Yes, there was some stuff in 205 where there was a lot more of trying to figure out what Murph's saying. Operation What the Heck is Murph trying to say? There was a lot more of a montage. Like they had snuck into sick bay, and Zero was there with the doctor, and he's going on more and more about Rodrigo's and Annabella's the girl. I don't even think we ever mentioned the girl. Annabella's the girl.
I don't think that made it. Mm-mm.
Yeah. So and Zero's having a real hard time, and they're trying to get a tricorder to scan Murph and do something there. So anyway, it was a whole, and it was more montagey than it ended up being, but you just don't have time for everything. Yeah. But that was fun as well.
I am so grateful, I have to say. I mean, between Aaron doing, exposés on Twitter and on Discord, explaining little bits and pieces where like the thinking or the stuff that didn't make it to the screen. It's so much enriches the story. I'm like, right now, as far as I'm concerned, that's my headcanon. We now know it was Annabelle.
Oh, fantastic! Yeah, it's in the script, so yeah, there it is. That's great.
So I wanted to ask about STLV. So you were actually a guest one of these years, and it was a wonderful panel on the main stage. What was the experience like for you? I mean, did you get actually to nerd out a little bit, go and meet some of the actors, or was it just straight on do the Prodigy panel and then unfortunately had to leave?
Oh no! I mean, well, this year was different than the year before we were on the main stage, and that was trippy being, and we got to reveal, like, I think that was the first time we saw the Voyager
Yep.
and the Doctor.
Yes.
And,
Oh my
that was
gosh, that
an
moment.
amazing experience. And I mean, I would love to do that again someday. I mean, this year I was on the Trexpert stage, and it was with a bunch of other writers, which was wonderful. I was ill, so I had missed the other Prodigy panel. But no, I've gotten to meet a lot of the Star Trek crew. I mean, Jonathan Frakes is a sweetheart, and he actually kissed my hand, which is lovely. He was such a gentleman.
How lovely.
Todd Stashwick introduced me to him, and so that was an amazing experience. And he's every bit as sweet as you have probably heard. And so, yeah, anyway, I've met a bunch of them over the years, and it's been pretty trippy and weird and fantastic.
Here's hoping for more in 2025.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm hoping the party can continue for Prodigy going into next year as far as panels go.
I mean, and look, the Emmys are next year. We're qualified next year, not this year. So you never know. Maybe some little.
You never know.
You never know.
So, Prodigy is by far not your only project that you have worked on. You've got like a good 20 years so far as a professional writer. It's a brutal business that you're in. What has kept you going along the way?
My love of not being in an office and having to just sit in a break room and eat someone's bad birthday cake and going, I'm lucky I get to do this, I guess. I don't know.
That's a good motivator. I've worked those jobs.
Yeah, but so have I. So that's why it's like, I'm not putting that down, but like, I'm just glad. I think it's also being able to make certain hours and write at home and do freelance and jump to projects and having a good group of friends helps. I mean, now having my dogs helps. I overwork too much. People know that about me. I'm when I'm in a project, I'm super committed to it. So I need to find a little more balance, which I have been lately. I've been finding a lot more balance. But what gets you through is, doing beat sheets and outlines is like, but once you're done and you're like once the draft is in and you're like, it's working, there's nothing like that feeling. It's amazing.
I've heard from other writers that the actual process of writing is something they hate, but they love the result. When you have an end product and you can actually look back and you're like, oh, I actually did something here, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's like, there's a lot of writers. I do know a bunch of writers that are like, oh my God, I love to write. I write every day. And I'm like, I am not one of those writers. Absolutely. So, the final page is what gets you to the end, quite literally. So,
true that.
Yeah.
I mean, as an outsider looking in, I guess I get stuck on the idea that the industry is really difficult and it's only become harder to come by for jobs.
Yeah.
Anywhere in the entertainment industry right now after the strikes. And what has your experience been like?
It's been similar to other people's. I mean, I've been working. I've been so lucky. I've been working straight even past Star Trek Prodigy onto Stranger Things, and so I've been on a new Stranger Things that I'm doing that for. And developed that and had wrote that. And but it's insane right now. Like most people, it's like Thunderdome out there. It's crazy. Like no one's ever seen it like this. We're hoping in the new year things start to pick up. We've heard things might pick up. You never know. Everyone's terrified. In not only the writers are terrified, but like people in the studios are terrified because they don't want to pick the wrong project and lose money and everyone's hemorrhaging things and the whole studio system is just a whole, streaming changed everything and subscription service changed everything. And I don't think studios probably should have tried to follow the Netflix model because it's not the same. And look what happened. It didn't work.
Right. So, everything's kind of in crisis mode, trying to pick up the pieces. And do you have any advice for people who might be listening out there who are in the industry and struggling or want to get in the business, but see how difficult it is and maybe are having second thoughts?
Honestly, the best thing I could suggest, because it's available now and there are eyeballs, I would do something on YouTube. I would put my own stuff out. I would write my own stuff, film your own stuff, grab your iPhone, which is a cinema camera. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Bright light.
4K.
Yeah, there's a million tutorials online how to make things look so cinematic. Like you can do this stuff. So I would say like do what you can for free. My advice would be for contests, for script writing contests. I would
Oh, okay.
yeah, like Script Pipeline or any or you know film all any well film festivals or any script writing contests can actually make a difference. Can help. So I would do as much as you can on that, and that helps boost your and also being a communicator and socializing is a huge thing as well.
I was going to say, does that help with the networking and just getting to know people in the industry better? So you know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody, and eventually that helps you land a job.
Exactly. And that normally would work, but now that's been so tough because we're all trying to look for stuff. So that's why I was like, okay, it's time to take matters in our own hands. YouTube is a perfect way to do that. Grab a camera is a perfect way to do that. You know, screenwriting contests are the way to do that. So that would be
A lot of people are doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Let's see. This is one of the last questions that I actually had, and it sort of swings back into the nerddom. So you are very much a universal geek, it seems. So because you've written both Star Wars and Star Trek and Marvel and DC Comics, which is like traveling both ways, you know, everywhere.
I'm very lucky.
It is an unfair question. So do you have a preference? Is there like a difference in writing for different things, or it's a similar kind of like, oh, yes, I'm with my people, I'm going to do this?
I mean, I love writing. If I had to pick anything, it's still always Star Trek. That's my heart. If I could go back to anything, it'd be Star Trek. I mean, Doctor Who would be fun, but I'm not British, so they're never going to let me do that. So that's okay. But I liked, I mean, I love Marvel stuff. I really, really do. And I just love the tone, and it really is my tone, which is great. DC is coming into its own. I mean, DC animated world, I did back when, and then Primer, my new comic, I would love that to be a series someday, whether that be at live action or animation. And let's see what they do in terms of the new DC. I mean, I think the Superman trailer's dropping tomorrow, and we'll see how that feels. But I've written Wonder Woman. I'm crazy about, you know, I mean, Batman. I think is my Batman over there. I don't know if you can see my. There's my.
Oh yeah.
My Batman corner. So that's really hard to pick, but I mean, Star Trek is first, though. It really just is. Oh, and Star Wars is gotten so huge, and it's encompassing. And Dave Filoni's amazing, and he did all the stuff. And I'm so grateful. I even had a sliver of being a part of, you know, what Dave and Carrie Beck created. So I'm grateful for that. But that world has gone so encompassing. I think that it's just way too overwhelming for me. Star Trek I can still handle though.
You know, there's only so many 50+ years franchises you can keep track of in one brain, you know, but it's super cool that you've been able to basically like go play in all of these universes, sort of like a toy box. You know, you're going to go play with the Star Trek toy for a little while, and you've played with the Marvel toy and the DC toy. And that's just pretty neat. I mean, not everybody gets that kind of opportunity to do so much with so many different massive universes.
Yeah, and favorite things I grew up with. It's really trippy. It's really trippy sometimes. It is hard to. But that's why I'm like, God forbid I don't work again. Like I've done things and I'm proud of them. So like, let's hope that doesn't happen. Let's hope I have a very long career.
Yes.
But you know, it's been a good run, and I hope it continues.
Nice. Well, as we start turning to wrap up here, I do have one last question for you. And this relates to a question I also asked Dan and Kevin Hageman not that long ago, because we interviewed them a couple weeks ago. I asked if they had any words of wisdom for our cadet listeners, because one of the things our show does is we have younger callers. Their parents will record them saying if they liked an episode, what they learned from it, and you know, morals, messages, meanings, that sort of thing, what they, you know, just what did they get out of the episode? And so do you, for the folks out there watching Prodigy, the younger ones, I'd love to know, you know, if you've got any life lessons or words of wisdom you would like to impart. These could be life lessons learned from Prodigy, general life lessons, or whatever comes to mind. No pressure, just inspire the youth.
I think Honestly, oh God, one is don't be afraid to be a science nerd. Just nerd out. It's totally acceptable now. Years ago, it wasn't as much. Now it absolutely is. So just embrace yourself and who you are. But second would be celebrate the little moments. Sometimes if you have some good news or something, like say you made us on the sports team, or you did something, or you had a play coming up, whatever it is in school or what have you. Celebrate all of the milestones. Don't wait. Be like, oh no, 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 I don't want to jinx it. I don't want to jinx it. Don't do the jinx thing. So, because every milestone you do is it happened. It's real. You did it. You made it. You made it to that point. So don't, because then what if something does fall through? Then you didn't get to enjoy and get to celebrate the moments up to that. Or, say you didn't get the role in the school play, but you practiced and you learned this song and you had a good time and blah, blah, whatever it is, just practice. It's practicing. What's the word? Joy. Is it practicing joy every day?
Yeah.
And like celebrate. It's celebration. It's being celebratory as much as you can. I think that's the advice, because I think it gets kind of sad when you just worry about something not happening when it kind of already did. So that's the whole time loop right there. They talk about paradox. It's,
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Celebrating all the victories.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the little things.
All the little things.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much, Jen, for taking the time to chat with us. Where can people find you online so they can keep up with what you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, I'm on Instagram at official Jennifer Muro. My publicist did that. Don't mind the name. But on Twitter and Blue Sky, it's just Jennifer Muro. And and that's pretty much. I'm on and then Threads, but I'm mostly on Instagram, I'd say. But I X now, I guess, is not Twitter anymore. It's X, but
Yeah,
that's where a lot of the Star Trek community still is. So I'll still post as well.
Blue Sky's really where it's at right now.
A lot of people started slowly but surely moving towards the Blue Sky. Yeah.
I'm excited about it. It looks really similar, and
it's like the old Twitter days of yore, back when it was fun.
Yeah, exactly. And the reason I'm on Instagram a lot is because it's like, ooh, pretty pictures. I don't have to worry about pretty pictures. So so that's where everyone.
Cool. All right, we'll have to check out your pretty pictures on the Instagram.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, again, thank you very much for joining us. Mission Log Prodigy is produced by Roddenberry Entertainment. Production and technical direction by Earl Green. Our website and your opportunity to comment and connect with us is missionlogpodcast.com. And if you'd like to support Mission Log directly, you can do so at patreon.com/Mission Log. Until next time, everybody, live logs and proper and go fast.
This is a Roddenberry podcast. For more great podcasts, visit podcast.roddenberry.com.